Good morning, YouTube. I am in Tennessee, just north of Knoxville on I-75, and on my way to Georgia. And I'm going to post some videos tonight, I think. I don't know how many I'm going to post yet, but I'm going to post some tonight. At least one, maybe two. And then the rest I'll post when I get home this coming Friday, Saturday, whatever day it is that I roll in there. This is going to be a really busy home time, so I don't have a lot of spare time. I do have some folks that I'm going to do some tattoo work on, but it's not going to be this time. It'll have to be next time. Sorry, guys. Anyway, I wanted to talk to y'all today about my views on the lease operator programs. And I want to start this by saying that when I came into trucking, I had a long-term goal. Right? I had this long-term goal before I ever went to school, before I ever signed up with Millis, before Millis ever even accepted me. And that long-term goal was to become an owner-operator. Not just an owner-operator. I want to become an owner-operator with more than one truck. Okay? Where I have my own small trucking company. Right? And so a lot of the things that I do are geared towards that goal. A lot of the things that I study, a lot of the things that I look into, and a lot of my focus is geared towards that goal. Right? And so, in coming into this industry, before I even put out my first application, I had done a lot of research on the different trucking companies and the different options out there. Right? I looked into several companies, and I had been accepted by 3 of them when I chose Millis out of the bunch. Right? But I looked at becoming a lease operator, and I almost took that plunge when I was looking for a company to start with. Okay, because it looked good. I mean, and the way they sell it to you, it does look good. I mean, it looks like pretty much anybody can make it. And you talk to some of these guys that are doing the Lease Op program, and some of them will tell you they're doing all right. They're doing okay. But when they say that, you have to ask yourself, doing okay by whose standards? Okay. I've been on both sides of the argument. And one thing that lease operators have going for them, or at least they say they have going for them, is the fact that their lease payment includes their plates, and all of their licensing involved. Their everything involved. They're not running under their own authority. They're running under the company's authority. So all of the permits and the licensings and stuff like that are paid for by the company. All right, and they say that's included in their lease payment. On average, a lease payment runs about 4 times what you would pay if you got a similar used truck under a regular purchase program. Okay. So you have to ask yourself, is your licensing and permits and your authority and all that worth paying 4 times more than what you'd normally be paying? And the answer to that is absolutely not. The licensing permits, and all that stuff, the authority and all that stuff is a fixed cost. It's paid, at certain times of the year. Some of those permits are only paid for one time, and they're good pretty much forever. As long as you have the vehicle. Some of them have to be renewed every year. Some have to be renewed every 2 years. Some every 5 years. But they're a fixed cost, and the fixed cost for all of them combined is not as much as you're going to pay on that truck in 1 year. All right, that payment, that 4-time amount payment that you're making on that truck is so much more than what you would pay if you went and paid for that stuff by yourself, that it's not even worth thinking about. Okay. So no, that's not really an advantage. All right. The second thing is that the truck doesn't belong to you. It's a lease. Okay. You give it back when you're done, or you have to pay a big balloon payment at the end of the lease in order to own it. And the balloon payment can be more than the truck is even worth. So you go out and you get this truck that, let's just say that the truck could run about $50,000, $60,000 if you bought it from a dealer somewhere else. Okay. You put zero down on it, and you get into the truck, you drive away with it. Right? And that's why most people enter into a lease program. The truck is owned by the company. Who do you think puts up the collateral for that truck? Why do you think you get into it at zero down? It's because it belongs to the company. Right? And essentially what you're doing is you're making the company's payments on the truck. But you're not just making the company's payments on the truck, because what you're paying for the truck at a lease is not what they're paying for that truck. They're paying a quarter of what you're paying. You're paying 4 times what they're paying on that truck, all right, to get into the lease. And some of you guys will look at that and you'll say, because you're short-sighted, you'll say, well, that doesn't matter. I can still make it work. Yeah, maybe you can. Maybe you can make it work, but you're just going to scrape by. You're never going to get what you're worth out of that truck. And then people will say, well, but my lease payment includes a maintenance account. Okay. Yeah, your lease payment includes a maintenance account. That's part of it. That's part of what goes into your payment. It goes into a lease account. Did you know that most of those maintenance accounts cannot be reclaimed if you leave the company? All right. So here you're getting paid, X amount of dollars, for your loads. Let's just say you make $500 on a load. And out of that $500, $100 goes in for your maintenance cost. And let's say you do that consistently, every load that you make, and that you end up with, we'll just say $15,000 in your maintenance account, and your company decides, because you do something, or you mess up something, or for whatever reason they decide to cancel your lease. Just lost all that maintenance money. You're not going to get it back. They're not going to cut you a check for what's in there. You've lost it. It's gone. It's history. You're not going to get it. So, they essentially took part of your paycheck. The lease option doesn't work. It never, ever benefits the driver. And yeah, you can squeak by on it. You can squeak by and you can make a little bit of decent money here and there. You can pay your bills. Maybe even if you're lucky, you might actually pay for the truck. By the time you get the lease paid off and you get the truck paid off, it's time to trade the truck in, because the truck's been run to death. Where are you going to get the money for the balloon payment on the truck? You're not talking about $200 or $300 here. You can be talking $8,000, $9,000, $10,000. Where are you going to get? Do you think you're going to make enough money in a lease to be able to put $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 to the side so that you can make this big balloon payment for a truck that's already been run into the ground. It's probably got 200,000 or 300,000 miles on it, when you get the damn thing. And then you're going to put, 300,000, 400,000 miles on it before you get it paid off. And then once you get the lease finished, you got this balloon payment. Somewhere along the line, you got to come out with, $8,000, $10,000 to pay this balloon payment on this truck, or in some cases more. Where are you going to get that money? Because if you can't pay that balloon payment, you lose the truck. You got to do another lease. So you do another lease, because you can't pay that. So now you're back into a truck that has 2,000 or 3,000 miles in it. And you've got another 5 years or so before you can pay it off. So no, it doesn't work for you. And that's why I didn't do it. That's a big reason, a big, huge part of why I chose not to take that route and getting into my truck. Okay. Next is to become an owner-operator, a real owner-operator. An owner-operator, a lot of these lease guys,
in 1 mile,
they call themselves
take exit
owner-operators.
On right, to I-75 South.
But honestly, they're not owner-operators, they're lease operators. An owner-operator is a person who owns his vehicle, okay? He owns it, it's his. It belongs to him. He can take it where he wants. He can do what he wants. He can go where he wants. He can work where he wants. The truck is completely and totally his. Okay? You get that? That is what an owner-operator is. Alright, I gotta get over here. So lease operators, contrary to popular belief, they are not owner-operators. They are lease operators. And they're not ever going to be owner-operators. Well, I ain't going to say that, because eventually they may actually become owner-operators. They are lease operators. That's what they are. Come on. They don't want to go in gear. Problem with this thing sometimes. I had to go into a higher gear than where I wanted it at, because it wouldn't go into sixth. Anyway, an owner-operator owns his vehicle. So understanding that, what is the best way to become an owner-operator? Obviously the best way is to buy a used vehicle. Okay. So you buy a used vehicle, a used truck. Of course, you want it to be in as good a condition as possible. And a lot of times, you can get a better deal on a used truck from an individual person than you can from a dealership. Okay. If you go to a dealership, you're going to pay either Blue Book value or slightly over Blue Book value for your truck. And then you've got to have the credit to be able to get it and the down payment to be able to get it. If you've got good credit, that's not a big deal. If you've been able to save enough money for a down payment, that's not a big deal. However, if you don't have a huge down payment, you don't have great credit, and you may not be able to get a truck going that way unless you have some kind of collateral to go with it. All right, and then you got to be careful with that.
Take exit on right to I-75 South.
If you default on your payment, you lose your collateral also. So you keep that in mind. Second thing is, before you're ready to jump into a truck, you need to be able to afford to operate the truck. All right. So what that means, and what I'm saying by that, is that running a truck costs money. Okay. It's not cheap to run it. One breakdown, a common saying among a lot of truckers is that an owner-operator is just one breakdown from being bankrupt. A breakdown can cost thousands of dollars, depending on the breakdown. The other day, I blew a tire. A couple weeks ago, I blew a tire, and I asked the mechanic what a service call like that would cost an owner-operator, and he said that it'd be, it'd be a couple $1,000s just for that. Just the tire alone, unless you have a national account, just the tire alone's $1,000. For the super singles that I was running. So, $2,000 is a pretty good hit. And that's
3 miles. Keep right to I-75 South.
That's enough to really hurt, a lot of owner-operators. That's enough to really, put a big pinch on their pocketbook. So you got to be able to have the maintenance account set aside to deal with any maintenance problems you have, especially when you're dealing with a used truck that you're buying because you don't know what mechanical issues it might have, and it needs to be put into a shop and it needs to be gone over by a certified mechanic, with the equipment to actually go over it and find out, all the good and the bad about it. So, that's another thing that you need to take into consideration. But many of the people that I've talked to that are owner-operators and that have a small fleet, what they did is they found somebody in their local area who had a truck they were selling for whatever reason, and they made a handshake deal with this guy, or signed a contract with this guy to pay him in payments, right, for the truck, and it worked good for them. They got the truck for less money than what they'd have paid everywhere else. They didn't have to have credit to get it, and they were able to pay their truck off, in no time with a reasonable payment. So that's something that you might want to consider. You might want to consider, taking that route. But anyway, my opinion of lease is don't do it. Don't do it. Don't ever get suckered into it. It's not a good deal. It may look good. They may make it sound pretty, but you'll regret it. You'll regret it in the end. You're not going to come out of it on top, and and you're going to be losing a lot of potential income. So, that's my 2 cents on it. Take it for what it's worth. Ignore it. Doesn't matter one way or another. That's my 2 cents on it. So, if you got a comment, please leave it, and we'll catch y'all later. Peace out.